Hi, welcome to my channel, Math Made Easy with Laurel. I'm Laurel, and this is part 2 of a two-part video series on finding trigonometric functions of any angles. So in the previous video, I introduced the Cartesian coordinate system and angle in that system and being able to find the two possible angles when we're given a trig function. So I want to continue with more examples on that same topic. The next example I'd like to do is if we have sine of theta equals a negative value. So again, we know that our calculator will give us one answer. We want to be able to find both answers, so we want to know the quadrants where sine is negative. We know sine is negative in wherever y is negative, which is in quadrant 3 and quadrant 4. So we'll calculate the inverse sine of negative 0.83, and we get a value of negative 56.1 degrees. Our instructions have asked us to find theta between 0 and 360, which means we can't leave it as a negative angle. That angle is in quadrant 4. When we have a negative angle, it's a clockwise direction from our initial side, which is our positive x-axis. So this is our rotation of negative 56.1 degrees. And anytime, that's quadrant 4, anytime you want to express that as an equivalent angle that's positive, you just simply add 360 degrees. So our first angle will be negative 56.1 degrees plus 360 degrees, which will be 303.9 degrees. So there's our first angle. We know that we also have an angle in quadrant 3 that will give us a negative sign. So to find the angle in quadrant 3, we take that amount of rotation past 180 degrees. So angle 2 will be 180 degrees plus a rotation of 56.1 degrees from the horizontal to give us 236.1 degrees. So those are our two answers. Let's look at 3 more examples. If we had a question where cos of some angle is negative 0.68, we know that there's a possibility, if we're looking in the 4 quadrants, there are 2 possible answers. So where is cos negative? The same place x is negative, which is in quadrant 2 and quadrant 3. So to find our first angle, we're going to take the inverse cos of negative 0.68, and we get an angle of 132.8 degrees. So 132.8 degrees will put us in quadrant 2. To find the other angle, which will be in quadrant 3, the amount of rotation from the horizontal is 132.8. So if we went 360 minus that horizontal, or that amount of rotation from the horizontal, we would get our angle in quadrant 3. So our first answer is 132.8. Our second answer will be 360 degrees minus 132.8 degrees, which is 227.2 degrees. Okay, so just be careful, it's always from that horizontal, so you're either adding or subtracting 180 or 360. Never 90, never 270 degrees. We have tangent of an angle being negative. We know that tangent is negative in quadrants 2 and 4. So we'll find our first angle. Negative 42 degrees. So negative 42 degrees, a negative rotation is a clockwise. That's the angle in quadrant 4. It should not be expressed less than 0 degrees. So we want to change it to a positive angle. So we would express our first angle as a positive angle. So we would take negative 42 degrees, add 360 degrees to get 318 degrees. The second angle or answer will be in quadrant 2. So to get this rotation, we subtract 42 degrees from 180. So, or you can think of it as negative 42 degrees plus 180, which would be 138 degrees. So again, you can find the tangent, make sure it's negative 0.9, find the tangent of 138 degrees, and check to see that it's negative 0.9. My last example involves a reciprocal function, because you might see reciprocal functions in these kind of questions, and there's just one extra step that we're going to do to complete this. If we know that cosecant of an angle is equal to 1.5, remember that cosecant is the reciprocal of sine. So that means sine of theta will equal 1 over 1.5. Now we proceed as we did before. Theta will equal inverse sine of 1 over 1.5. And we get a value of 41.8 degrees. Cosecant will be positive wherever sine is positive. So we know that sine is positive in quadrants 1 and in quadrant 2. So we need to find the angle in quadrant 2. So if we have 41.8 degrees of rotation from the horizontal, to find the angle in quadrant 2, we subtract that amount of rotation from 180 degrees. So our first angle is 41.8. Our second angle will be 180 degrees minus 41.8 degrees, which is 138.2 degrees. So, it's just that one extra step when we have reciprocal functions. So the key thing in doing these questions is in practicing. You'll know that you want the two answers if you see these instructions. If it's a right triangle and you simply have that, then the answer you get is the one that you want. You don't need to get a second one. But when you see this instruction, then you know they're looking for the two angles. In the next video, I'm going to talk about angles measured in radians. Practice these, and when you're ready, we'll move on to radians. Take care and see you then.